The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
You feel that? Oh, shit.
Find your channel.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sports Insider. You are listening to the Sports Insider on Armed Radio Global out of Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Glenn Spillman, and normally to my left, for those of you who are viewing us, you would see Sean Allen. Well, Sean Allen is in Anaheim, California, and he is at Disneyland. So he is enjoying the weather out there, and wherever you guys are watching from. And I always like to know where everybody is listening from. And for those of you who are watching, let me know where you're listening to us from. We've got live.me cameras to the Facebook pages. We got someone from Scotland. Well, brother, you, Mr. Scotland, you missed the McGregor special the night after I told you that I would do it for you. So if you missed that, you can go and watch it archived on Twitter. Anybody who is would like to listen to the show, we will be on Armed Radio Global live every Wednesday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you would like, you could download the app, the TuneIn app, and if you searched Armed Radio Global, you can listen to us wherever you have the app. I mean, you can be driving in your car, anywhere, listening. So check that out. I'd like to welcome Rodney Ingerson to the show, and everybody watching. Today's going to be interesting. Also, too, every show, whether every day, 5 days a week, we do the show, I like to let everybody know that you could follow us on any social media platform. On Twitter, we are under Sports Insider and then the number 03. If you want to go on Facebook, it's Sports Insider Online. And, of course, you could download the TuneIn app and listen to us on Armed Radio Global. And hopefully tonight we are revamping and redoing, building from the ground up our website. And you could type in sportsinsideronline.com and you could enjoy the articles that we have up there. And let me tell you something. The articles are not going to be kind of your cookie cutter type articles that you would see on other sports venues. And I'm not saying other articles are not interesting, but we add a little bit of flavor to this. So welcome to the show, and let's just go ahead and get started. Last night's game, I gotta tip my hat to the Chiefs fans who were kind of busting my balls a little bit on the air last night, and I have to give it to you guys. The Chiefs came out, and they came out balling. And I could not believe the Raiders that I was seeing. If you look at, I'm holding in my hand right now. If you look at the cover of the current ESPN magazine, you've got Derek Carr, full cover. And it says, Raiders restructured, the inside story of Derek Carr's MVP moment. Well, in any sport, whether it is football, baseball, hockey, soccer, whatever sport you want to call, MVP for all of you guys, obviously known as the most valuable player. Well, unfortunately, Derek Carr did not play like any type of MVP caliber, not even close to it. Rodney Emerson texts, Boston line Carr had a bad night. Oh, bottom line. I thought he said Boston. It looks like Boston. Bottom line, yes, Rodney, he had a bad night. 100%. And everyone has one of those nights, and they deserve one of those nights. I fully get that 100%. But you have to step up the moments on that game. You're playing a rivalry game against the Chiefs, who are battling for first place. When you've got the Chiefs coming out, now granted, the first quarter wasn't very exciting. It was kind of like watching paint dry, you know. And we've got Scott over here on Periscope. Welcome to the show, brother. And also, too, for everybody that is watching us, you guys could text us, tweet us, Facebook us your questions. I'll be more than happy to answer those. And soon enough on Armed Radio Global, we will be taking phone calls, so that will be interesting. Rodney says dropped passes also didn't help. So we're going to kick it off. That sound right there, ladies and gentlemen, and I am popping open a nice cold brew. Here on the West Coast, it is 10 after 6, happy hour time. Boston, Massachusetts, where we're live from. Those guys are enjoying, having a great Friday night right now. A lot of interesting things going on there. Granted, now you've got the Celtics playing tonight, so there's probably a lot of people watching that game. We're going to talk about the Celtics a little bit later during the show because they're doing pretty good this year. You know, I have interest in the Celtics, I will say, because Isaiah Thomas is one of my favorite players in the NBA. And he used to play right here in Sacramento, the Sacramento Kings. But Kings chose to say goodbye to him, and now he's landed himself in Boston. He's doing very well. Rodney says, defense only gave up 14 technically. Well, Rodney, they gave up 14 technically, but I want you to take a red pen in your minds, and I want you to erase that word technically right now, because as it stands, there is 21 points up on the board. Now, granted, if you're talking about, you know, the run back, that's still on the defensive side of the ball. You've got to stop that. And you got to have special teams out there, especially when you have a threat of an individual that could do something like that. Now, granted, the Chiefs didn't score anything in the first quarter, but they came out in the second. And they laid down the freaking tomahawk on the freaking Raiders. 21 points to the Raiders' 7 dismal points. Next quarter, a little bit more of the first quarter. Boring still. You've got the Raiders. The same exact, it mirrored it. The same exact 3 points with the Raiders. 0 points for the Chiefs. Fourth quarter, again, no points scored. Now, I honestly thought this was going to be a shootout, or end up in a shootout, between Carr and Smith. I mean, Carr came out, I mean, he was like 2 for 8. I mean, like, the yards was nothing. He was still 17 for 41 with 117 yards. Rodney, brother, you're watching, and I believe at your age that you could get out there and you could throw for more than 117 yards. Rodney says, we had many opportunities to come back and didn't capitalize, including bad snap and field goal. Well, Janikowski, you know, I mean, he is clutch. He was clutch when he was at Florida State, and most of the time, he's clutch on a field goal situation. The Raiders have had trouble with the bad snap for the past few games. They've had trouble the past 4 games with dropped passes. And I understand a bad game. I really do. I said that earlier. But when you've got 2 bad games, 3 bad games, 4 bad games, and you're 2 of your top receivers, you got Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree that continuously drop balls that are thrown in the numbers. You were taught, even in baseball, when you throw a ball across a diamond or anywhere, you go and you throw the ball directly towards the chest, to the numbers. That's what they tell you to do. In football, that's what they do. They tell you to hit between the numbers. The quarterback, they tell you to throw the ball between the numbers, and that's what they did. And they still kept dropping the ball. They had no one to blame but themselves. I mean, if you look at the statistics, the average that Carr did last night was 2.9 yards. And then you got Smith, on the other hand, who had the same completions. He had 17, but he was 17 for 26, but he had more than twice the amount of yards than Carr. He had 264 yards, averaging 10.2 yards. He had one TD, one interception. But again, when a team gives you, meaning the Raiders, a chance to capitalize, as Rodney stated in his comments, you have to capitalize on those. So neither one had a good QBR. I mean, Carr, good Lord. I mean, his QBR was 7.6. Latavius Murray, he had 22 carries, 103 yards, breaking the century mark. Whenever your running back breaks the century mark in any game, that's a good game. But when you look at the score, 13-21, not so good. Murray did score a touchdown. That's good. But neither one all the rushers that Kansas City had, they had 4 of them. And they had 27 carries for 65 yards. That's no bueno when you're spreading the ball out like that between 4 people. Raiders, they fared a little bit better. I mean, Murray kind of took everything on his back with 103. And then there's 3 other rushers. You had Richard, Carr for 3 yards, and then you had Marquette King had 1 carry for 0 yards. So total yards for the Raiders, 135. So, and again, stats are all they are. They're just numbers. Some people like them, some people don't. Gentleman asked, where was where? He only got me 6 fantasy points. All right. Speaking of that comment, and again, I 100% love you guys that are watching on Periscope because you're so interactive, and I think it's awesome. All right, let's talk fantasy points real quick. There's a lot of people that I've talked to since the game last night, and we'll talk throughout a game and text and whatnot, and they will talk about the fantasy points that they're getting or not getting. But I've said this ever since the beginning of the year. You do not always want to go with the star players or the marquee players of that particular situation or particular game. Sometimes you want to, you kind of want to, whether you watch fantasy news or, fantasy on Yahoo Sports or however you get your fantasy information, you kind of want to, it's like a chess match. You kind of want to play around with it a little bit. And there are some people that had some obscure players on there. Tony, welcome to the show, that got more points than that. So what do you do with a player like that gets you the 6 points? Are you going to bench them? Are you going to whatever? But fantasy has come a long way over the years, and it has been very competitive. I remember when it first came out that it looked like a Super Bowl ring. They had fantasy winner and everything like that, and it was and a lot of people take it very seriously. But I apologize to all the Raider fans out there that had to suffer through that game. Again, it was a game though that I thought, even though that I wanted them to win, in my mind, I really thought that they were going to struggle. And it is just something that hopefully will wake them up. Hopefully that, the coaches on both sides of the ball, the offensive and coordinators, the defensive coordinators, the running back coaches, the receiving coaches, everybody gets on the same page with getting their receivers to catch the freaking ball, because there's been way too many drop balls on easy passes. I'm not saying anything that's, Carr is flashing a ball at them at 100 miles an hour. It is just something that they're not doing. So, it's sad to say, but if you look at the standings, technically, someone asked, do you think Michigan basketball team will do this season? I will get to that in just one moment. I appreciate your question. So if you look at the standings, you've got, the Chiefs. They're riding high right now. They are above the Raiders. Technically, they're both 10-3. But the Chiefs are on a 3-game win streak. Plain and simple. Raiders, obviously, 1-game losing streak. But we'll catch it next time, and we'll see what happens. We'll see. I had them at 12-4 anyway, so we'll see what happens. But okay, so the gentleman asked, what do I think about Michigan basketball? Well, to answer your question directly, I've always enjoyed watching Michigan play. I mean, my favorite team is the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm from Los Angeles, and obviously so. You had Magic Johnson played for MSU, Michigan State. But when it comes to basketball, that is one of the favorite sports that I like to watch. I like to watch college sports, period, because when you watch pro sports, it kind of ruined it for me one time, because as a journalist, I am in the locker room quite a bit. I'm interviewing players before the game. I'm interviewing players after the game. And one time I heard a reporter ask a player, who will remain nameless, both of them, and he asked, you have been on a losing streak. How does it make you feel about losing the game tonight, continuing that streak? And this player said, you know what? I get a paycheck for what I do. My job, I get a paycheck. And he told the reporter, he goes, you also get a paycheck. He goes, whether I win or whether I lose, my paycheck is the same amount. So I don't really care. That's what this player said, and that was upsetting to me, because I felt that, now granted, they do get paid a lot of money, but I felt that that particular player just didn't care, because they got the money, as they said out of their own mouth. I get it the same amount whether I win or lose. But what really struck me was when he said, I don't care. So that kind of ruined it for me. I played college sports, and I know what goes on in that aspect. And even now as a fan, those kids play 100% for their school. We've got Callum Listen 15, first time on Periscope watching, welcome to the show. So now granted, they have a scholarship, but they're getting their school paid for. And living in the sports dorms, I will tell you, it is a fun thing, because you don't have to really do anything except go to school, study, and get good grades. They do your laundry for you. They cook the food for you. They do everything for you 100%. So it's like living in a day spa 24/7. And but they play for the pride of their school, And one of the most prideful, I would say, states when it comes to sports, period, is the gentleman that asked about Michigan. Whether it's Michigan or Michigan State, it is absolutely 100%. I mean, that is Michigan. Their football stadium is absolutely epic. It's freaking huge. But being in an environment like that with, over 100,000 people, I mean, heck, even OU now. Okay, a gentleman said NCAA is a business, period. All right, I'll tell you what, brother. NCAA is a business. You are absolutely 100% right. But for the students, no, it is not. The student, it is for the academics, supposedly, unless you're, a basketball player, and a lot of them are going one and done. But yes, it is a business for the NCAA. The students don't get anything out of it. Now, granted, they do get slipped an envelope every now and then, and I'm not going to say who, when, what, where, and why, but if you think that doesn't happen, you're freaking stupid, because it happens at every freaking college. I don't care if it is a major university or if it is an obscure university like Wyoming or something like that. Players get rewarded some way, somehow. It happens. But yes, the NCAA, they get millions upon millions of dollars in revenue, and even with these bowl games, now when the school goes to a bowl game, they get a certain amount of money. If they win, they get a certain amount of money. But I guarantee you, all of that money will go to the football program. If you think any other goes to the music program or the art department or anything like that, they might tell you, "Oh, we spread it around." Okay, yeah, technically they spread it around, but still in the football program, someone says WWE makes more. Okay, well, let's face that. WWE is a business, but it is a reality TV show that plays out live every night somewhere in a city somewhere in the United States. It is a drama that is written by a staff of 20 to 30 writers, and people buy into it. Yes, they have an app that is $9.99 a month. So say if you've got 1 million people that bought the app, per se, for the sake of math, you got WWE making $10 million a month. Gentleman says WWE competed against the league in the 90s and 80s. Okay, it's 80s and 90s for one. But number two, if you think WWE makes more money than NCAA, you're high, because they don't. Especially, they don't make as much as the NFL, that made almost $12 billion last year. But anyway, I digress. So let's go over a few other things in the NFL. So we've got people on Periscope kind of battling it out on what sport makes more. It's kind of funny to watch. Broncos linebacker Brandon Marshall. Okay, there's a lot of celebrities out there, and if you're a sports figure, you are a celebrity, plain and simple. There's a lot of celebrities out there that get threatening letters. And some of them are just from some jackhole that writes a letter just to see if he can get a rise. Now, this one seems to be a little bit more serious in eyes, and especially Brandon Marshall. And he says, and I quote, "It is extremely concerning to receive a letter filled with racial slurs and threatening language, just so many racist, derogatory terms that were in it. Just a bunch of crazy things that was in it." End quote from Marshall. So here's the thing. It had he has, if you go to his Twitter, or I don't know if it's Twitter or Snapchat, he has snapshots of the actual letter that you could read. But he handed it over to the security team, and they are obviously investigating. But here's the weird part to me. The return address on the envelope, well, I got to laugh at this. One guy tweets, "The Lions will win the Super Bowl, remember this." Well, brother, again, you need to roll up another one and smoke it, because that ain't happening. The return address was from Mrs. Jackson's 6th grade class at Martin Luther King Middle School. So if you, as a player, get something from a 6th grade class that says, "We love you," and that's what happened, and he opened it up, and all this stuff happened. But also, if you think about it, a lot of people that it's funny. Someone said the Kings will win an NBA title before the Lions win a Super Bowl. That's absolutely right, brother. And I'm not even a Kings fan. So a lot of these people will write these letters just to shake people up, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're idiots out there. It's going to happen no matter what. So the Browns have been losing. Everybody knows that. The Browns have not won a game at all this season. Everybody knows that. But the Browns' Joe Hayden is upset, and he had a press conference, and he's visibly upset that they had a computer simulation, and that is exactly what it is. It is a computer simulation that had Alabama beating Cleveland 34-0. I find that funny. And I'm sure a lot of sports fans out there will also find that funny. If you don't find that funny, you need to get a sense of humor. But he said, and I quote, "Comparing a college team to an NFL team is disrespectful." No, sir. Losing every game of the season is disrespectful to the fan base. You think Browns would destroy Alabama? Well, I would love to see that happen. I really would love to see that happen. Because I don't think they would destroy them. I really think Alabama would give them a run for the money, and I honestly think Alabama would win. That'd be a game I'd like to see, and a game I would bet on. So let's come back to the West Coast, and there's been a lot of ups and downs with the Rams, the LA Rams that just moved there. They're not an expansion team. They're a team that's been established. You have the coach, Jeff Fisher, who has been established. He has gone to a Super Bowl, and he is. It's been alluded to that he has had a bad relationship with the GM of the franchise, and it has been talked about as being toxic. But the GM, Les Snead, defines the relationship with Jeff Fisher really good. That's his exact words. Well, let me say this. Anytime that you are asked a question like that, the GM is not going to slam the coach and be like, yeah, the guy's an a-hole, and I freaking don't like him, and he pisses me off, and he's a jerk, and he sucks. The team sucks. No one's going to say that. He's going to say the politically correct. Well, maybe if he is Donald Trump, he'd say that. But no, the guy is going to say the politically correct thing. You know, everything's fine. Blah 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 blah. Someone just said, "I'll just say this: same old sorry ass Rams." Well, they were stupid for. I mean, okay, let's talk about that real quick. The first round. The overall number one draft pick in Goff, which the Rams, and let me ask you this, guys, and honestly, back in the day when Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf got drafted at the same time, and there was some moving and shaking going around, and Ryan Leaf was supposed to be the next thing since freaking the resurrection of Jesus, and he went to the San Diego Chargers. Okay, the Chargers fans were, okay, someone asked me, what do you think about the 1979 draft in Larry Bird? Well, Larry, I mean, come on, man. That should be a rhetorical question. Larry Bird, one of the all-time NBA greats, and I would say in the top 5, arguably, and that's what I think of it. But Ryan Leaf was a bust. He was right now, he was the biggest bust in NFL draft history. I think Goff has overlapped that, and he is now the biggest bust in NFL history. We'll keep it here West Coast, and we'll talk about a little bit more about the Raiders. Aldon Smith applied for reinstatement back on October 3rd. Now, he was suspended for a, quote, substance abuse violation, or the violation of the NFL rules. So his suspension was up the 20th. He still is not back in good graces, if you will. So no decision has been made by Goodell. But I think he says it was not him in the video. Well, here's what you are told by any lawyer, if you will, especially in sports. Deny, 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 deny. That's what they tell you to do. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, it doesn't really freaking matter. That's what they tell you to do. So that's what he's doing, but he's still not doing anything. Gentleman says, I believe it should be an 18 playoff, Power 5 conference, France, and 3 others are worthy. Someone says, Alden, I'll have another Smith. That is funny, ladies and gentlemen. So, let me ask you this question. For those of you who are watching, put up your answers. And for those of you who are listening, email or get on the Facebook page, Sports Insider Online, and just kind of DM me and let me, because this is a real question that I'm asking. Now, there are some states, especially California, one of them now. Here is the question. Okay. If it is 100% completely legal in your state to smoke weed, shouldn't it be against the law for the company that you are working for, aka NFL at this moment that we're talking about, that should penalize you for doing so? Because right now, I mean, look, we can go out, if you're 21, you can go out and drink. You can get drink until you're absolutely shite-faced. And a person says, yes, if it is legal in the state, then yes. Another person says the NFL policy trumps the law regarding their players. Okay, I am not arguing that the NFL law, that is a story for another show. And I would love to do a show about that only. But I wrote an article tonight. It will be up on sportsinsideronline.com. And I talked a little bit about some of the players right now that are doing that. But if it's completely legal, all right, say you have a medical card. Not only is it legal, but you have a medical card, and your doctor says, oh, yeah, he needs it for his bad back or whatever. Someone says if it's legal in your state but not in another, that's a huge gray area. Okay, I get that. Because, okay, by that argument, the NFL isn't just a state. So it's not just a California-run organization. It is not just a Denver-run organization. It is a 100% all United States-run organization. So if it's legal in one state, but it's not legal in all of them, then that might be the loophole in the NFL rule that doesn't allow them not to penalize them. So that's something that is quite interesting. And here's another question. Dallas Cowboys. And some will tout them as America's team. But if you talk to Stephen A. Smith, now someone says gay. I don't know if you're talking about the Cowboys or if you're talking about the weed stuff that we were talking about. Stephen A. Smith really dislikes not only the Dallas Cowboys, but he dislikes Jerry Jones. But the Dallas Cowboys, again, and I'm not saying they're America's team. I'm saying they're touted. Someone says the Patriots is America's team. Someone says, the Dallas crack wagon. That's freaking funny. Back in the 80s when you had number 88 out there snorting cocaine and everything, they've always had drug problems with the Cowboys. But here's my question. They've clinched a playoff berth. They're in. They could lose the entire season, and they could put their third string in. Someone says, not true. Patriots are a very hated team. Well, just because you're a hated team does not mean that you are not America's team. But I don't think, I don't, and again, we could argue that all day long. But should the Dallas Cowboys sit their starters, whether it's Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, anything like that, do you think as a fan, whether you like them or not. All right, for you Patriots fans out there, and we are on Armed Radio Global, even the Patriots fans, if you guys were, you're doing well anyway. But would you suggest, if you clinch a playoff berth, would you suggest sitting Brady? How would you guys, as Patriots fans, feel about that? Even though that you may clinch a playoff berth, if you're a Patriots fan and you're going to a game and they're playing their second stringer or even third stringer or whatever, do you want to go to that game? Do you want to see that game? If you're a true fan, probably, but most people will want to watch Brady. I don't care where Brady plays. I mean, Brady, let's just face it, man. Brady is the golden child of the NFL. I mean, he is the poster child of the NFL. Someone says, why do you watch First Take? They are a stupid Disney show. I don't watch First Take. I just know Stephen A. Smith's stance on the Dallas Cowboys. So, so that's interesting. Here's another question. A person says, if Dallas clinches first round bye, they will set them regardless. Okay, that's interesting. I did make a call to the Dallas Cowboys today, and I always get Jerry Jones' freaking secretary, and she says almost the same thing every time I call. She says, Mr. Jones has commented on that, and he doesn't want to comment any further. So that kind of sucks. I wish I'd get a freaking straight answer from the guy one day. But okay, you got the 49ers, and any 49er fan out there, I'm sorry, but they are the second worst team in the NFL. So 49ers are 1-11. So we've got PTH83 saying, I'm starting Kaepernick this week. Okay, go ahead. You could start him. I mean, what do you have to lose? Nothing. But, okay, let me ask you this, as a 49er fans out there. Should the 49ers lose out the rest of the season so they get a better draft pick, if you will? We've got Abu that says, yes, they should. Another person says, do what the Lions never do. And then another person says, yes. Someone says, fire Trent Blake, worst GM they've ever had. I'm a proponent. If you want to get that's the way. See, the NBA draft, the lottery goes in the NBA. They have little balls, just like the freaking lottery, and they put them in there, and they have a draft. So, say you win the NBA title, if you play the odds right, mathematically, you could still get the first draft pick. But the way football goes, if you have the worst record in the league, you're going to get the first pick. And the Niners, by summation, will probably end up with the second worst. And but someone says San Francisco's turmoil is due to the Harbaugh effect, period. I agree with that 100%. And someone says there is nobody really that is a clear number one pick. Okay, not right now, but as the months go along, there could be. So, keeping with the San Francisco 49ers, what do you guys think of Kaepernick? Where should he go next year? Because from what I've heard him say, I have personally interviewed him, and I've heard other rumors about. Do you think, someone says to the couch, do you think that he's happy in San Francisco? I don't. Someone says he should stay in San Francisco and build around. Okay, you know what? You need to stop that crap. I don't want to hear about build around Kaepernick and build around this player. Screw that. You guys have had a couple, the run is over, and I don't think you could build a team around Kaepernick because he's not happy there. I don't think with him and Chip Kelly tandem, with Chip Kelly as a head coach, I personally don't think that you're going to have a winning season. So, no, stop with the building around. Okay, if you want to build around them, put them to another team and build them around at that team. Okay, someone says the Broncos. I'll take that. if he stays on the West Coast, someone says Chip Kelly's a failed NFL experiment. I agree with that 100%. He should not have stepped foot in the NFL. Someone says, I think Gabbert is better than Kaepernick. And that's Nick Roseville. Hey, Roseville, are you talking about here, Roseville, like by Citrus Heights, Roseville? But again, for those of you who are just joining, we are Sports Insider, and you're listening to us on Armed Radio Global. They are out of Boston, Massachusetts, and we are live. We are on the West Coast, so we start the show every Wednesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So with the comments, so I love all you comments. Someone says Ryan Leaf, the GOAT. Okay, you know what? You need to go jump in a lake somewhere and get cooled off, because Ryan Leaf is nothing. I bet you nobody even knows where he's at, what he's doing. He's probably working at a freaking Burger King somewhere. So, now there are tension between coaches and players. A lot of tension. So, someone asked, Tom Brady MVP? I don't know. It's yet to be decided. I don't think so just yet. Someone asked, what am I writing down? I'm not writing anything down. I'm marking off my bullet points. So I think the tension, but how much do you think that the tension between coaches and players has an impact with the ending of the game, whether they win or lose? Because I've seen, and I'm sure you guys have, as fans, have seen many times that the coaches and players arguing on the sideline, and and I think that affects play, because they're thinking about the arguing, they're thinking about all the, how pissed off that they are. I don't think, and again, I'm just going to stem back to it. I don't think Kaepernick should stay in San Francisco. Definitely don't. 100%. Goodbye. Gone. No, thank you. But I think, and we talked about this on the show earlier this week, there are a couple of teams that need to do some house cleaning. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns, for one of them. And here on the West Coast, someone asked right now, how about RG3? Think he'll start for the Browns? As they say right now, he's going to start for the Browns. I don't think he should, because of the problems that he has with his knees. I think that whenever you have an injured player out there, I think that they're going to target that. But again, if he wants to play, and I will answer that question in a minute. If he wants to play, hey, let him play. What do you have to lose? Someone says, should the Jets go for a new quarterback? Well, yes, I do. I think the Jets should go for a new quarterback. Throughout the show this week, a lot of people think that Tony Romo should go to the New York Jets. Do I necessarily agree with that? Someone says Matt Stafford is definitely considered an MVP right now. Another person says Fitzmagic, haha, funny, is a legend. Is a legend, but is that good or bad? Someone asked, will Jerry Jones let that happen? I'll tell you what. Jerry Jones is a businessman. Jerry Jones is a chess player. Jerry Jones is a smart guy. Is he a good owner of a football team as a GM? Absolutely freaking not. But if it's good for Jerry Jones business-wise, he'll drop Romo like a freaking bad habit. He will. Okay, someone says Mark Sanchez for Patriots starter. All right, now you're just going to piss a lot of people off in Boston right now that are listening to the show. There's no way in hell that Sanchez is going to start for the Patriots. No freaking way. But Romo is on the tail end. First off, he's way too injury prone. Is he that good of a quarterback? I mean, some people think he is. Personally, I think that he's always... the gentleman says, people love me in Boston. What do you mean? All right, people might love you personally in Boston, but that statement you made about Sanchez, they're not going to love that, brother. But yeah, I think that when Jones, I think it was $52 million that he restructured Romo's contract for. Someone says Romo collecting $16 million, being on the bench, he has the best job. Yes, but I think you, as a player, if you are benched like that, do you really deserve... there should be a clause in there somewhere. Now, if you're injured, okay, that's a different story. But if you just lose the starting job, that is another story. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, Romo. Okay, someone asked me who I think. Okay, someone says Broncos are going to pick him up next season. Okay, so I got people saying Broncos are going to pick up Romo. I got people say Broncos are going to pick up Kaepernick. Okay, to answer your question, so I'm going to ask who's going to win the AFC North. Whew. Honestly, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the Ravens have it in them to do anything of any note. I mean, I think Flacco's a bit overrated lately. Now, granted, he's technically sitting on top, so I'm not exactly sure. So, but if anything, I'm going with the Pittsburgh. Yes, someone says Flacco is inconsistent. He is absolutely inconsistent. So let's kind of jump to the NCAA right now as far as the football aspect goes. So let me ask you, football fans out there, whether you like the NCAA or not, they have 42 bowl games that are about to commence and come online. Do you think that is a bit excessive? You have 42 bowl games. So to me, and there's another person that says make an 18 playoff. Another one says I like the playoff system. Well, the playoff system does kind of interrupt things a little bit. You can have somebody that can kind of squeak in and have an upset and squeak into the championship game that maybe would not have been there if they didn't have a playoff system, and obviously would upset a lot of people. But if you had an 18 playoff, there are teams like OU, the school I went to, the Oklahoma Sooners. You have a team like that if they did well, okay, we will. Someone mentioned Western Michigan. I'm going to talk about them in about 3 minutes. I think the 42 bowl games, I think, is a bit excessive. But now, okay, someone mentioned Western Michigan, so here we go. Western Michigan is the only other team other than Alabama that is undefeated. They are 13-0. How do you have a 13-0 team that is number 15 in the standings? How does that even happen? Now, granted, you could argue all day strength of schedule. You could argue all day all this other stuff. All right, let's for just a second step into March Madness. And a few years ago, you had some Butler. Who the crap was Butler? Butler came on the scene and just freaking mad dogged everybody, and they almost won the freaking national championship. But you can get teams like Yale and Harvard that get in the NCAA championship, who very well could, by some miracle, make it to the final game and win the championship. Yale and Harvard. What? But that's the thing with these bowl games. What kind of upsets me a little bit? Someone says Penn State should have got the death penalty. Middle Tennessee upset Michigan State. Yeah, so some of these things that that are they're the Cinderella story. You're absolutely right. So now, speaking of the NCAA, and I've had a lot of comments on the NCAA tonight, and this is not a rhetorical question. This is a true question. So someone says, I go to U of FM, so I'm kind of bummed we got gypped. Some people said upset make college football. So, how biased do you think that the NCAA is as college football goes? Because let's face it, if you had a Clemson and Washington BCS championship game, someone says extremely biased. Someone says Washington deserved it, win your conference. Okay, but people want to see teams like Alabama, Ohio State, even back in the day, Nebraska, Oklahoma, teams like Florida, Florida State, teams like that. Like when Clemson jumped on the train last season in the BCS championship. No one really freaking cared about that. Another person says the NCAA is rigged. Yes, yeah. Someone says the most storied team of them all, Michigan. Now here's something that I have an issue with. If you are a losing team and you make it into a bowl game, how does that even happen? So let me show you this. You have Hawaii that is 6-7. They're in a bowl game. You have Mississippi State 5-7. They are in a bowl game. You have North Texas 5-7. They are in a bowl game. Someone says Washington's overrated. Michigan should take their spot. No, if you are a losing team, especially a 5-7 team, and you go to a bowl game, say you win, and then you go all crazy thinking that you're something great and something good. No, you're not. You were a losing football program that year. 5-7 does not deserve a bowl game. Period. End of story. Done. I don't even want to talk about it. All right, NBA. So a big story right now in the NBA is Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder. He is on a triple-double freaking rampage. Rampage. He has 11 triple-doubles in 22 games, and it is, I think, a very good feat, any way that you look at it. But I think that, some people say that he is a distraction to the team. He's a distraction to a lot of things within that. He's narcissistic. He's a ball hog. He's this, that, and the other thing. Well, he's getting triple doubles. He's helping your team win, period. And I don't think there should be an issue with it in any way. So, since we're on Armed Radio Global Boston, I'm sure you guys already know on the East Coast, Boston lost the game tonight to the Raptors, 94-101. So the Boston Celtics go to 13-10. Raptors are 16-7 that sit on top of Boston. So sorry for all you Boston fans listening. We got about another minute for the show on the Armed Radio Global, but when I sign off on them, I will stay with you guys here viewing me live. But I want to thank everybody on the Armed Radio Global Network and everybody listening in Boston and all across the United States on TuneIn Radio that are listening to Armed Radio Global. Again, folks, we are live every Wednesday and Friday on Armed Radio Global. Check us out. Thank you very much. Everyone on the East Coast, peace out. We'll see you next week.